How's it going, guys, and welcome to another entry in our Community Cast series. In this game, we're going to have a showdown between the Jesus Uncrossed, who's going to be playing the High Elves led by Princess on a Star Dragon, and he's going to be facing off against the Dark Elves led by Malekith the Witch King. So let's jump right into this match, guys, and have some fun. So for the High Elves, in Vanguard, they do actually have two groups of the Illyrian Reaver Archers. And I actually like these guys quite a bit in this matchup because they have 140 range. So they can actually outrange all of the Dark Elf missile units. I think Dark Shards have 125, and I think the Repeater Crossbows have like 115 or 120. So you're pretty much completely safe with these guys. You can really kind of dictate the pace of the battle and get some great utility out of them. On top of that, they actually have pretty good melee stats. So 32 melee attack, 34 melee defense, and 27 weapon strength because of that martial prowess is extremely good. So if you do end up having to fight some Dark Shards, or not Dark Shards, but the Dark Riders, you can actually get a really advantageous trade, win in melee, and then go and compromise their back line. So I definitely like that pick quite a bit. For the High Elf front line, it looks like he does have a combination of Spearmen, who are just going to be the kind of filler units, and the White Lions. So White Lions are really solid. They trade well with Black Ark Corsairs. They do okay against Harganeth Executioners for their cost. And they actually do have, I think, a missile resist. Let's go ahead and check. It's a 30%. So if they are taking Dark Shard Fire, which is pretty much inevitable in this matchup, they're going to be relatively durable. In the back line, he does have a couple groups of Lothran Seaguard, which I actually like quite a bit as well, because you don't really have to babysit these guys. So even if your back line does get compromised, or a Dragon, or some of the Cold One Spear Riders, or just Cold One Riders, whatever gets into your back line, they're going to be really durable. They have charged defense, they have anti-large, really good leadership, and decent defensive stats with 44 melee defense. So for his Lord, he does have the Princess on the Star Dragon. So the Princess is the ranged variant of the High Elf Lords. Still very good in melee. You can see 60 melee attack, 54 melee defense, really good armor-piercing missile strength, but she also has ranged attacks. So we look at her ranged attack abilities. Let's go ahead and pause here so we can get a good look. I think she does have loose, so it looks like allies in range get plus 10 to reload skill. It's not bad, but again, on the Star Dragon, you're probably going to be engaging in melee and chasing around, and I don't think it's worth keeping her near your High Elf archers to get that kind of minimal benefit. But still not a bad utility ability there. And I could have sworn she has another ability that like some sort of a missile attack, but I guess not. But should be pretty good. Definitely can put up a fight against Malekith, because you can see the Star Dragon does actually have better stats. 60, 54, and 580 to 54, 52, and 520. So that's pretty much it for the High Elf army. I think he does have a couple Cav in the back, some Dragon Princes, and Dragon Princes actually can beat down Cold One Spear Riders pretty well, because they do have this massive physical resist of 25% and just have good stats across the board. So for the Dark Elves, they do have Malekith the Witch King, which is always a pretty solid choice. Against the High Elves, you do have to be careful, because they have Tempest from High Magic, and you can see that the High Elf player actually did bring High Magic, so very good pick there. Apotheosis, Tempest, and it looks like he does have the Fiery Convocation, but Tempest can be pretty backbreaking against the Dark Elves. If you can lock down Malekith and then breathe fire on him with the Star Dragon, or attack him with Phoenixes, it can be pretty game-breaking for sure. So for the Dark Elf front line, looks like they got a bunch of Bleak Swords, some Harganeth Executioners, definitely a solid choice, very elite. So it looks like the Dark Elves do have a superior infantry corps, but the High Elves do have some skirmishers. They have some pretty nice utility with the Dragon Princes in the back. So it should be a pretty good battle. Some Cold One Spear Riders to give him some anti-large, and he does have two groups of those. So if the two groups of Cold One Spear Riders are able to kind of ambush those Dragon Princes, they could probably win in a 2v1 situation. But without further ado, guys, let's get the show on the road. So you can see up here on the high ground, the High Elves are going to be doing some skirmishing with their Illyrian Reavers, but it looks like I think they're shooting at Bleak Swords, so probably not going to do much damage. Bleak Swords do actually have silver shields for like low tier infantry. That's really solid, and they have pretty good sustained combat stats. Very similar to like Empire State troops, but maybe a little bit stronger. I'm not sure about if they cost, how much they cost compared to swordsmen, but I know swordsmen have, no, I think their stats are pretty much identical, because these ones do have 2 chevrons. But regardless, you can see the Dark Elves are going to be pushing up with these Cold One Knights on the flank here. They also do have a group coming up and around the flank here, so he's probably going to try and get into that back line. But that's one of my favorite things about the High Elves is their back line. If you bring Lothran Seaguard, isn't really something you have to protect. You can kind of just do as you please, which is great. So Malekith's going to be flying over here. He definitely needs to be wary of that Tempest coming from the High Magic, though. It's such a good ability. The Howling Warp Gale from the Skaven actually locks him in place, but it doesn't do damage, but the Tempest does damage as well. So the High Elves are going to be forming ranks. You can see some of these missile attacks are coming into the Dark Shards, who do have silver shields themselves. So they will trade well, but they're going to be applying some pretty good AP damage on these white lines right here. You can see the Dark Shard Fire is going to be tearing into these guys, and despite their missile resist, they're still going to take a lot of damage. The Illyrian Reavers are getting some nice counterplay on those Dark Shards, and you can see there's a nice pendulum coming down from the Dark Elves right there, which just cleaves that entire back line. So very well played by the Dark Elf player. You can see he does have a Sorceress with Shadows back there that I forgot to point out. But the archers are shooting in here, getting some decent trades with these Dark Shards, but a nice little breath there coming in from Malekith. But guys, the High Magic is here, so you can see Malekith gets caught up in a Tempest, and then that Star Dragon is going to come and just breathe fire. So, oh man, that's just going to be brutality. So you can see the breath attack coming in. Malekith's HP is going to tank pretty rapidly here. That's a really strong combination. Now, Malekith is very strong and durable, but had that been against like a really squishy lord or someone on the ground who isn't quite as tanky, or I guess doesn't have the HP pool, it would have been very, very backbreaking for sure. So look at that damage. I mean, Malekith does have some healing through Soul Stealer, but I mean, that's very, very impactful. He's at almost half health, and that's not good for the Dark Elves. So very, very well played by the High Elves there, kind of coordinating that attack. He's also getting some fire from his Illyrian Reavers in the back and doing pretty good. So in the front, you can see there's a bit of a battle between these Cold One Knights and the Dragon Princes. So the Dark Elves did use Enfeebling Foe to lower their stats, but these Cold One Spear Riders took a downhill charge, and they're just getting beaten down by these Dragon Princes. So very, very well played there, kind of intersecting those guys. Let's see where the other group is. So yeah, you can see Malekith is just getting hunted right now, which isn't good. But in the front line, you can see that the High Elves are starting to buckle. So though the High Elves did kind of win that initial Lord engagement, the Dark Elves have a far superior infantry corps. You can see that these Hargoneth Executioners, which are pretty much the equivalent of like the Swordmasters of Hoeth, are just going to be massacring the white lines. You can see these ones have 55 models, and these guys now have 35 left, and they're going down pretty quickly. And the Dark Elves haven't even gotten Murderous Prowess yet, so I really am a little bit concerned for the High Elf front line right here. So some of the High Elf archers and skirmishers in the back are doing their best to kind of fend off this advancement, but you can see the white lines are pretty much crumbling on every single front. So the big advantage that the High Elves have is the fact that they still have this princess right here. Looks like Malekith does drop the Word of Pain, which is actually a little bit better against the princess. Oh, and it looks like a Fiery Convocation going down. I don't think it made the best contact, but the princess is going to be landing right now. It looks like she was landing, I guess not. But Word of Pain lowers accuracy, so it's actually going to pertain to her missile attacks as well. So she's going to be landing right now and trying to kind of salvage her archers in the back, because the Hargoneth Executioners, if they're able to get back on those Lothern Seaguard, are just going to tear them to pieces. So it looks like this group of spearmen is being forced to fight against Hargoneth Executioners, but at least they have the high ground. Definitely working out pretty well for them. But yeah, you can see they're going to start tanking pretty quick. And I think that Murderous Prowess just procced, so they're just going to be getting a ton of stats right now. And for those of you guys that are new to Total War Warhammer 2, essentially what that is the Dark Elves, when they get a certain kill threshold, so they reach, it's proportional based on the total number of units on the battlefield. And it's not even them, but a really nice rear charge coming in from these Illyrian Reavers. That's one of the things that makes them so darn good. I mean, they have really good combat stats for like Skirmisher Cab. I think one of the best in the game, while their martial prowess is active. But back on that previous note, so the Dark Elves wants a combined total of kills from both factions procs. So they can be killing your stuff, you can be killing theirs. You get a map-wide buff, which is really, really good. And let's actually take a look and show you guys while it's still active. And you can see a lovely barrage coming in here. So that's Murderous Mastery. So yeah, here it is. Is that Murderous? Oh yeah, so these ones have Murderous Mastery. Some of them have Murderous Prowess. It's a little bit different for the elite troops, but they get charge bonus, leadership, melee attack, just all kinds of stats, which is really strong. So I'm right here, the Illyrian Reavers getting a nice little rear charge, but you can see the Hargoneth Executioners are cutting them to pieces, just massacring them. So definitely a very close fight, despite the fact that Malekith is at like 10%, if even no, like 5% right here. So Malekith's down here in the low ground. He's getting a pretty nice little engagement on this this caster. The High Magic Mage, if she could like turn and get one attack on Malekith, that could be absolutely game-changing. Sending him off the battlefield, and it looks like the Princess is going to be landing and going after Malekith. Malekith is able to just barely squeak away there. He doesn't actually take the attacks. And the Cold One Spear Riders right here are going to be able to kind of hold this Princess up. So very, very well played by the Dark Elves escaping there. Both players playing extremely well. This is definitely a great game. In the back, you can see a couple of groups of Bleak Swords, or just one group here. They have pretty good combat stats. I think against Lothern Seaguard in sustained combat, they would win because their melee attack is so much higher. But the Lothern Seaguard should be able to hold. They are down about 20 models, give or take, so that's going to be a tough fight for them. And once these guys get compromised by these Bleak Swords, he could probably push back and take out this other group. So really good value from this one group of Bleak Swords. So, overarching look at things, you can see Malekith is very low. He's having to flee away, 121 HP. The Princess is doing her best to kind of catch him, but she is taking a ton of fire from these Dark Shards, and the Dark Shards do massive damage against armored targets. You can see a nice Enfeebling Foe is going to be dropped, lowering her melee attack and melee defense, and it is overcasted, so the duration is going to be quite a bit longer. So I wonder if this mage has, yeah, looks like it popped the Starwood Staff, which is going to kind of augment the Winds of Magic, but he really needs to get another Tempest. One Tempest cast would take care of Malekith. And the fact that he keeps coming back is just going to be such an issue. He probably still has some magic and some other breath attacks and different things like that, which, if they make direct contact with this Princess, could be absolutely game-breaking. So over here in the low ground, you can see the Illyrian Reavers getting some excellent skirmishing. They're much faster than these Cold One Riders. The Cold One Riders have 66 speed, and I think these guys have 90. So yeah, they have no chance of catching those guys. So getting some really good trading there. But a really big issue for the High Elves is the fact that the Princess is just taking so much damage. She's down to 1400 HP, almost as low as Malekith, who's kind of lurking over here in the shadows with his 71 HP. I'm surprised he actually isn't shattered or broken. Looks like he is going to be wavering whenever anything comes close to him. So is this mage going to be casting Tempest? He might be out of Winds of Magic. That could be a big issue for him, but if he casts one Tempest, that will kill Malekith. So the Princess here was at 1300 HP a moment ago. Now she's at 960. So continuing to kind of tank here, probably just trying to secure the back line. So a nice little charge right here against these Hargoneth Executioners is going to send these guys flying. And man, Star Dragons are so darn powerful. I mean, that breath synergy that you guys saw earlier in the match, like, I've had so many games where that's like either, just immediately decided the outcome of the game or made a really, really big difference in the battle. So he does land there. It looks like he does manage to terror route some of these Harganeth Executioners, so very well played there. And it looks like the Princess is going to be hunting, but again, those Dark Shards are just staying and kind of perpetually applying that fire. And unfortunately for him, it looks like there's two relatively healthy groups here, 45 models here, this one has 47, and they still have a ton of ammunition. So, no matter where this Princess lands, she's going to be taking fire from one of these two groups right here. So it looks like there are some Illyrian Reavers who are able to kind of rout off some of those, or rout off that sorcerer. So very, very nice stuff for the High Elves. So maybe these Illyrian Reavers can get up and get a bit of a rear charge on these Dark Shards. That would be very, very powerful. Because Dark Shards are pretty pitiful in melee. I mean, 16 melee attack, 22 melee defense. That's not going to hold up against Illyrian Reavers. Although the Reavers do actually have lost their martial prowess. But even without martial prowess, they still have 30 melee attack and a pretty decent little charge bonus. So up on the high ground, you can see that some of these Lothran Seaguard are shooting into the backs of these Bleak Swords here, which is pretty good. And also the Spearmen are kind of holding them up, but it looks like both parties are going to break there. So maybe he could rally some of these troops here. It looks like those ones are broken, but I don't know, 24 Lothran Seaguard probably isn't going to be enough. But yeah, 33 Illyrian Reavers here. He can get some really mean cycle charging for sure. But the Princess still taking a ton of damage. A nice Apotheosis coming down. And I wonder if Malekith is out of the picture yet. Let's go ahead and zoom in and see if we can find him lurking anywhere. It looks like maybe Malekith did get taken out by a Tempest or something. Yeah, it could be. But the Star Dragon does land again on these Dark Shards, trying to eliminate its last threat. And the Illyrian Reavers are also engaged, so a bit of a mistake here in my opinion, although he doesn't really have a choice now that these Cold One Knights are chasing him. He probably wants to be focusing down Dark Shards, because if the Dark Shards are out of the picture completely, then he can just simply, like, cycle charge with the Dragon and probably terror out the remaining infantry. But it looks like he was trying to get there anyway, so probably, just doing the right thing anyways. He does get a nice rear charge with these Illyrian Reavers. Very, very well played by the High Elves there, kind of, eliminating this last potential threat. So the Cold One Knights here, that's a bit of an issue as well, because they're anti-large, armor-piercing, so they are going to get kited because they're rampaging, which is good. And some Lothran Seaguard have come back here, so hopefully you can get these guys off the battlefield for his sake. But the Dark Elves still have a lot. They have the Harganeth Executioners here. They have 46 here and looks like 37 here. So these guys are very elite. They have pretty good core leadership value, so they should be fine. They're not immune to psychology though, so they can't get terror routed. But honestly, the Princess with 263 HP, if she lands at all, I mean, she's probably just going to immediately die or just get broken, which could lead to some serious leadership issues. So I don't know if the Star Dragon has any breath attacks left. That would be incredibly strong, but it is the Princess, guys. So remember, the Princess can kind of just sit up here and shoot with her 344 missile damage and probably, start to pick some of these guys off. So the Dark Elves on the low ground are going to be surrounding this mage right here, and the mage isn't going to push over in melee either. She's got her pimp staff right there doing some pretty good work against these Dark Shards. But man, what an incredibly close fight. Very well played to both parties. Some Lothran Seaguard on the high ground, and it looks like there is a little bit of ammunition left on this group of 24, which, could be pretty nice. And the Dark Shards are, yeah, it looks like they're all breaking. So, man, this is just such a close game. Some of these Illyrian Reavers, looks like there's 10 here, and a group of, how many are here? 18. But yeah, this is so rough. The fact that these Cold One Knights are still alive, I mean, that's enough to threaten the Princess. So he gets a nice charge into these guys, kind of a last desperate effort here, and it looked like the mage was actually a little bit surrounded. So bringing these guys in to protect the mage, definitely a good call. And man, that Harganeth Executioner got some really, really good hang time there. So these guys are actually wavering, but I think once they're able to kind of beat back these Illyrian Reavers, yeah, and it looks like the High Elves actually suffer from army losses. So what a great game by both players. It was just cool builds. I definitely liked it quite a bit. The High Elves had a bit of a weaker front line. I mean, 4 Harganeth Executioners, but they did have the advantage in skirmishing and also having the Princess and the Princess on the Star Dragon as well as the Mage. It was definitely an expensive composition, but it seemed like the Dragon Princes did pretty well against the Cold One Spear Riders. I'm not sure how they actually died after that. Like, I saw them win that battle, and I didn't really kind of get an eye on what happened to them after that, but I definitely would have hoped they would get some more value, because if they could beat the Cold One Spear Riders, they kind of had free range in the back line. But I have a feeling that Malekith maybe cast Soul Stealer and got some really good breath attacks and was able to take him out. But yeah, great fight. So very well played to Jesus Uncrossed, as well as, we'll just call him Tricks over there. Yeah, great play by both players. I know they're both pretty high ranked, so yeah, definitely a good showcase there. So guys, let me know in the comments below if there's any other matchups you want to see. I'm working on a couple. I know a few of you guys had asked to see the Wood Elves versus Lizardmen. That was a matchup I haven't gotten on ladder yet, so I'm going to do my best to get that to you guys. So yeah, stay tuned for some more quick battles, as well as the War of the Beard between Italian Spartacus and I. I'll be playing the Dwarves, and he'll be playing the High Elves. And then I'm also probably going to be starting a Belegar Ironhammer campaign, just a kind of a solo campaign, probably playing very hard and just trying to, take the mountain from Queek and all those foul threats. So yeah, guys, thanks again for watching. Have an excellent night, and take care.